There is a letter in your Bible that changed the world. It is the longest, most theologically dense letter the Apostle Paul ever wrote. 16 chapters. 400 years of Christian theology have been built on its pages. St. Augustine read it and converted. Martin Luther read it and split a continent. Karl Barth read it and shook 20th century theology to its foundations. The letter of Paul to the Romans. But Paul did not deliver it. Paul was not even in Rome. The person who carried that letter, on foot and by ship, across hundreds of miles, into the most powerful city on earth, was a woman. Her name was Phoebe. This is her story. The deacon Paul trusted with the most important letter in Christian history. The woman whose journey shaped how the gospel reached the heart of the Roman Empire. And the saint the Church remembers, even today, on the 3rd of September. Open Romans chapter 16 and read the first 2 verses. I commend to you our sister Phoebe, a deacon of the church at Cenchreae, that you may receive her in the Lord in a manner worthy of the holy ones, and help her in whatever she may need from you, for she has been a benefactor to many and to me as well. 2 short sentences, but every word is doing work. Cenchreae was the eastern port of Corinth, a busy harbour town on the Saronic Gulf, the place where ships sailed to and from the eastern Mediterranean. There was a small Christian community there, and Phoebe was a leader of it. Paul calls her sister. He calls her deacon. He calls her benefactor. In English, those words sound mild. In the original Greek, they are anything but. The Greek word Paul uses is diakonos. Today, most Catholics know that word. It is the root of our English word, deacon. It is the same office held by St. Stephen and St. Lawrence. It is the office Paul himself uses to describe himself, to describe Apollos, and to describe his missionary partners. Paul does not soften the word for Phoebe. He does not use a different, lesser term. He uses diakonos. For centuries, English Bibles translated this word as servant when it referred to Phoebe and deacon when it referred to a man. Modern Catholic translations, including the New American Bible, the New Revised Standard Version Catholic Edition, and the New Jerusalem Bible, have corrected this. They now translate it deacon, the word Paul actually wrote. Then Paul calls her something else, prostatis, a Greek word that meant patron, protector, or presiding figure. In the Greco-Roman world, a prostatis was a person of standing who supported others with her resources, hosted them, defended them, vouched for them in public. Phoebe was a woman of means, a woman of standing, a woman the Apostle Paul leaned on personally. So when Paul writes to the Christian community at Rome and says, "Receive her in the Lord," he is sending one of his most trusted co-workers to a city he himself has never visited. But why send her at all? Why not just send the letter by some random messenger? Here is what nearly every modern New Testament scholar now agrees on. Phoebe did not just carry the letter. She delivered it. In the first century world, letters were not silent. They were not slid under a door or dropped in a mailbox. The bearer of a letter was expected to stand up in the receiving community, read the letter aloud, and answer questions about it. The bearer was the living voice of the letter. Paul knew this. He chose his bearers carefully. And for Romans, the most theologically ambitious letter he would ever write, he chose Phoebe. Imagine the scene. A small house church somewhere in Rome, maybe in the home of Prisca and Aquila, that other great couple Paul greets at the start of chapter 16. The community gathers. They have heard rumours of Paul. Some are Jewish Christians. Some are Gentile converts. They are arguing, as Christians have always argued, about how the new faith fits with the old covenant, what the cross means, who is in and who is out. And into that room walks a woman from Cenchreae. She unrolls the scroll. She begins to read. "For I am not ashamed of the gospel. It is the power of God for the salvation of everyone who believes, for Jew first, and then Greek." When the room has questions, Phoebe answers them. When the room hears something hard to understand, Phoebe explains. When the room hears the closing greetings, Phoebe knows half the people Paul is naming because she serves alongside them. Phoebe did not write Romans. Paul did. But for that first audience, in that first reading, Phoebe was the voice of Romans. The Church Fathers knew exactly who Phoebe was. Origen, in his commentary on Romans written in the 3rd century, says that Paul was teaching by the apostolic authority that women too could be deacons in the church. St. John Chrysostom, the doctor of the church we have met before in our episode on Junia, preaches on Phoebe in his 30th homily on Romans. He calls the Christians of Rome to imagine her arrival, to receive her with honour, and he praises her ministry openly. Theodoret of Cyrus, another father of the church, comments on Romans and notes simply that the apostle entrusted the letter to a woman whose virtue had earned the office of deacon. These are not modern reinterpretations. These are some of the greatest minds of the early church reading Romans 16 the way it was always meant to be read. And there is corroboration from outside the Bible too. In the year 112, a Roman governor named Pliny the Younger wrote to the Emperor Trajan asking what to do about the Christians under his authority. In one of his letters, he reports that he had 2 female slaves of the Christian community tortured to learn what these people actually did. He calls these women, in Latin, ministrae, the Latin translation of diakonoi. Less than 50 years after Phoebe, a pagan Roman official is interrogating women he understands to be deacons of the Christian church. The role was real. It was widespread. It was visible enough that it caught the attention of the empire. The early church had an order of women deacons. Saint Phoebe is the first one we can name. So why does this matter, 2,000 years after a woman from a Greek port town set sail for Rome? It matters because Phoebe shows us how the gospel actually moved across the Roman Empire, not on the shoulders of armies or imperial bureaucracies, on the feet of ordinary disciples who packed a scroll, paid for a passage, and went where the Spirit sent them. It matters because the Catholic faith has never been ashamed of women in service of the word. The deacons, the patrons, the missionaries, the martyrs. Phoebe stands at the head of a long line that runs through every century of the church. It matters because the next time you hear Romans read in a Catholic Mass, you can know that the very first time those words were heard, it was a woman who read them. A sister, a deacon, a benefactor, a saint. Her feast is the 3rd of September. The Roman martyrology lists her with the words, the Holy Phoebe, deacon of the Church of Century. The Eastern Church has commemorated her in the same place for almost 2,000 years. She did not write the most famous letter in Christian history, but she carried it. She read it. She defended it. She made sure it arrived. If you want to honour Saint Phoebe, do one small thing for her. The next time you open the letter to the Romans, pause at chapter 16. Read those first 2 verses out loud. Hear her name. Picture her unrolling the scroll. Picture her standing up in that small Roman house church and beginning to read. Phoebe of Cenchreae, the deacon, the benefactor, the bearer of Romans, the hidden mother of every Christian who has ever heard those words preached. Subscribe for more hidden mothers of the church. There are many more women whose names the centuries tried to forget, and we are bringing them back, one Sunday at a time.